Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Secular de CISO. I'm Sujit Christy. Today's discussion will be on cyber resilience strategies for CISOs in risk-based decision making. In an era where cyber threats continue to evolve in sophistication and frequency, the importance of cyber resilience cannot be overstated. We will delve into the intricacies of integrating cyber resilience into risk-based decision making within organizations. Without further ado, let us explore the strategies, challenges, the best practices in safeguarding our digital ecosystem against adversarial forces while maintaining proactive and risk-aware stance. And it is my pleasure to host Gokulavan Jayaraman, DGM Compliance and Deputy CISO at Lumina Datamatics Limited, to share his insights and experience as we collectively strive to enhance our cyber resilience posture in the face of an ever-changing threat landscape. Gokulavan has over 20 plus years of experience. He has assumed various roles from project management to quality, and I have personally known him for several years. And I have seen him taking on big responsibilities, and he's also doubling up as the DPO right now for their global operations. Gokulavan, thank you so much for taking time, and welcome to the discussion.
Good morning, Sujit.
Good morning.
Nice to meet you again. And then there's a wonderful start to begin with. So, so Sujit, like you mentioned, I currently take care of Lumina Datamatics compliance segment, as well as I develop as DPO and Deputy CISO. So that's the thing that we are taking. Lumina Datamatics is a pre-publishing company who helps all the publishing houses in getting their books printed, as well as we have a wing, a kind of growing wing on the e-commerce side. So we are also catering the top Fortune 500 companies from the e-commerce side, and it's been a very great business. And then we are doing good.
Absolutely. And looking at your business and the work the organization does, it's more to do with intellectual property, right? So there's always that challenge from a security perspective to keep the content secure and then provide the value to your stakeholders. So the question I have for you is, how do you define cyber resilience within the context of risk-based decision making? And why is it crucial for a modern organization? Okay.
That's a nice question. So cyber resilience is nowadays so important that any organization needs to plan for the resilience and then to start with. So earlier things were started and then it started moving, and then on the fly we were doing certain things, certain amendments, certain changes that we wanted to make so that we are resilient. Nowadays we are in a matured zone where we have to plan for the resilience and then do the back calculation and start assessing things which will help us go cyber resilience. Also sideline on the bigger note the company objective. So everything and anything which starts with the objective. So assume that the bigger ball is the objective, and then we have to put in something as a smaller ball within that, the cyber resilience, so that we can actually go along with the business and make sense the business, because it's not that there are multiple things which are there in the world for our choice, but it's not that everything that we have to choose and then we have to implement, not like that. So what is our organization objective, and then accordingly we have to start the resilience. And of course we have to start from the basics, which is the risk. So risk based thinking, if we all recall, ISO started around 6-7 years back. They went into the risk based thinking. They removed the preventive action, and then they actually moved to the beginning. That itself shows that how important is risk-based thinking for any organization. And they didn't do it for one standard; they did for all the standards. So that's another important thing that we all need to notice. So uh, start with the context of the organization, understand the internal and external threats, understand your business risks, and then now when I say risks, there can be multiple divisions which will have risks. We have to involve all the team, understand all these things. Now you need to set a RTO, RPO, find out, because that's very very important. One can say that my RTO is like 10 minutes, and my RPO is just 1 hour. So how much you are going to spend there? Is it relevant? All those things you have to take care. So find out what is your real RTO, RPO. Now we work towards what are all the activities or controls, mitigative controls that you need to put so that you can achieve this RTO, RPO. So there are chances that one may not be able to achieve this in all the cases, because mitigation steps, we know not all the risk actually can be eliminated. Basically it can be reduced to an extent, which is called a residual risk. So how far you have the residual risk at a very low level, that's what makes you different from the other players. So when it comes to the mitigation controls, there could be multiple or there could be one. So how a combination of these things works out for your organization, you have to find out, and then see if there are any residual risk also which you can try to further reduce. That's great. And one important factor that I could see in my experiences, whenever we are trying to put a mitigation control, that's something new which is coming into our organization. People tend to forget that that also can create a risk, its own risk.
Absolutely.
So I travel by bus, but I need to go fast. So I start traveling through air. So there are different risks on
Airborne
traveling through
risk.
air. So
Yes.
people are tending to forget, okay, this is a control, so I will not even think about what are the problems that the control is going to bring to my table. That is one of the biggest problem that most of the people find it difficult to actually engage and then assess. So my request is any mitigation control that you're putting, just assess that also from the risk perspective. So if we travel in this model, mostly our risks are actually under control, or whatever RPN, that is threshold value that our organization sets, mostly we'll be able to uh, uh, roll within that particular numbers. Certain cases we will not be able to do that. Also, we all have to agree. It's not that for numbers' sake we have to reduce it with some data. Certain cases, definitely, any organization will not be able to control it, and that numbers RPN will be definitely more than your threshold. In that case, think of avoiding, think of accepting, or think of transferring through insurance or maybe an outsourcing agent or any other helpful partner who can do some activities for you. So if we, this is the larger approach that if we are taking as an organization, definitely our our issues will be less, and our business resilience will be definitely far more higher than what our peers would be doing.
Absolutely. So you spoke of several things, right? I mean, a couple of things which caught my attention was the shift in the way the standards are adopted, right? So you're now shifting the risk assessment aspect right to the initial stage of your project, right? So that's a welcome change. So which means we are not reacting to a specific incident and then trying to figure out what do we do when things go wrong, because we tend to lose a lot of time there, which impacts the resilience. That one operation which you need to keep running maybe will also fail. So the other thing which you also spoke about is that looking at various strategies, right? So while you implement a control, that also introduces a new risk. So are we conscious of those new risks, and how do we manage those risks? So that's a very, very thought-provoking observation which you have made. So to follow through, I'm just going to ask you. Now, typically we talk about when we talk about incident response, we say you detect, you respond, and then you recover from incidents. As a CISO, what challenges do you typically see post COVID, right? I mean, the way we operate has significantly changed, right? I mean, our ecosystems have become much larger, right? Earlier, we were probably restricted to a single location. Today, even our users may be connecting from multiple geographies, or probably, they're traveling, they connect. And the threat landscape also has changed significantly, and they're becoming sophisticated by the minute. How do you see this challenge, and how do you look at managing that risk?
Yeah, that's a great question. So definitely we all will agree that post COVID, a sea of change. It's not a single change, it's a sea of change with respect to the mentality of the organization, and especially the people who thought that an employee, if he goes out and sits works, definitely is not going to be productive. That in
Mindset
very
has
thought
changed.
has completely changed, and that also had brought certain positives to the management. For example, they can operate with a smaller office with a better server room space now, and they can actually instead of having multiple locations, they can reduce few locations. So these cost effective things also had happened during this pandemic.
So
So it's not that okay, before pandemic I had some space, now after pandemic you come back. So that concept itself is not there. Even the organizations are not ready to call back people because it's cost effective. And while it is cost effective, that creates its own problem with respect to the cybersecurity. The reason is the entire issues, like you mentioned, are going to be, the perimeter is now the earth. So
absolutely,
as of
there
now,
is no
nobody has gone
perimeter actually.
outside outside the space and started working. So that's why I'm mentioning the earth. So
Yes,
anywhere in the earth they can work. So some are traveling, some are at some place, some are at their aunt's place. So it can be any place. And of course, we all know that vacation working has also become a new norm. So people
mm,
go on vacation for 1 month to some other country and then they still work. So it's kind of double dhamaka for many people. So at the same time, it is going to be inviting more and more number of risks for the organization. So what is the criticality of the data that any organization deals with is the foremost thing that will decide what are all the controls that you want to put in. Number
mm,
one. So, for example, uh, a kind of organization like UIDAI who deals with PII, mostly PII, and then biometric fingerprinting and other inputs. So their control should be really high. Next comes the BFSI, and then slowly it comes down. The controls can come down up to the manufacturing. So manufacturing also, I'm not saying that they should have less controls. There also, according to the requirement, you should have the better control or maybe a normal control. So that's how we have to bring. Now every system is a node actually for the attacker to get into the network, and this particular node is actually traveling, or it can connect from wi-fi, free wi-fi. We don't know how the people react. So that is another problem. So strengthening the node is very important. We also saw the end of antivirus just just when the pandemic started. So most of EDR was there. It was there. I'm not saying no,
mm.
but it got uh, a high level of visibility post pandemic because all the antivirus failed. The reason is they were all signature based. The threat actors are no more signature based. They are signatureless. They are actually even working from your memory to understand what how they can attack. So
Absolutely.
fileless. processor based attacks, all these things are actually happening. So it's very, very important for us to safeguard our endpoint. So from that angle, a very good endpoint detection and response system in your nodes, that is in all your endpoints, are very, very important. And without this, a no work should start. And of course, all the basic items which we had earlier, if we are having still those items in place, definitely perfect. We all know that even today, the ransomware attacks which are happening predominantly happens through two areas. One is leaked credentials. The other one is any sudden port or any system which is without ADR which is coming up in the network. That is rogue systems. So these are all the major two. There are multiple other things, phishing and other things are also coming up. But these are all the two major things which are yielding the ransomware threat actor to come into the organization network. So it's very, very important for us to not only concentrate on EDR, but also the other basic hygiene systems which were there that should be still working for us. And we should not leave those things because thinking that EDR is there, okay, I'm fine. I don't need firewall. I don't need so certain people are taking that kind of measures also where okay, I had installed this. This is a better thing. So do I need that SIM requirement? No. Do I need a SOC? I think we have these guys are giving 100% guarantee, as well as they are giving $1 million if you are failing. So should we go for that? So no, actually, your whatever controls, basic controls that are there, definitely you should have. So I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yeah, you did, you did. I mean, so
Yeah,
so if I were to put it in my own words, what you were trying to say is that we need to have a well thought out mechanism to discover new threats. While on one side we discover and identify the new threats, we also need to understand what are new vulnerabilities or what gives rise to a new vulnerability. And then I guess it is a collective effort to determine which threat would exploit which vulnerability and the potential impact that it could cause. And also, parallelly, we need to be very clear in terms of our processes. Which process is going to have a high impact if it's being affected, and which are going to be low impact processes, or some of them may not even have a impact at all from a business operation perspective. So, in that context, when you prioritize, you'll be able to very specifically apply the principles of security and ensure that that one process or two process which requires to be resilient ensures resilience for business continuity. So
absolutely.
that's my takeaway from the examples which you gave in your
Yeah.
short
Just
discourse.
remembering one of the point which I missed uh, when the question was on the COVID. So overall, people are spread across. So one of the important thing which was there earlier, but suddenly it got spiked up with respect to the number of licenses is VDI. That's
Hmm.
a definitely a better tool where still you have the network, you have the control. It is just a screen sharing types wherein all the confidential data still resides here. Even the end user system is affected, it's not going to make any problem for us. So that is one of the thing which definitely the users or the people CISOs can choose according to their requirement. I missed that, so I wanted to
Absolutely. No, I mean, it's an excellent point which you brought to the discourse because you are also talking from the perspective of identity. You also spoke about the endpoints or the user endpoints, and then you also spoke about the other endpoints, like you mentioned the word nodes. And now you're talking about ensuring a virtual platform where you contain and restrict the movement of data. Right. So in
correct.
other words, you're building an ecosystem where you identify the critical data and you host them in a secure location with adequate controls. And thereby, you are also allowing people on a need to know, need to do basis to gain access to that information while you log their activities so that you can also go in and do the audits as and when you require. So you also spoke about NSIA. And so you continuously monitor the landscape to see whether there is an emerging risk. So just in conclusion, Gokul, uh, what would be your one or two advices to the CISOs and the CIOs out there in terms of looking ahead? What should they be looking at? Strategic activities. Just one or
Great,
two.
great question. That's a great question. So I would say number one is continuously learn. So threat actors have all the time with them, whereas we are not like that. We have a stipulated time to work, not only us, even our team members. Whereas threat actors, they work on Saturday, Sunday night, whenever they want to work, they are their boss, and they do their activity. And now they have a Brahmastra at their hand, which is exploiting the artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities against us. So that is one of the problem that we all gonna stare at in some more time, because A is like how we are also learning, and then things are coming up, shaping up. They are also doing the same on their front, and very soon that is going to create a kind of havoc in the industry. Definitely, there will be solutions. I'm not saying no. When there is good, there is bad. When there is bad, there is good. Something like that will be like constantly appearing. So definitely, there are
True.
going to be solutions also on it. But how? But I would still say if your basics are right, most of the problems are resolved. Unless and until someone has got something really big to beat on you. So that's one. So continuous learning, and there are certain things which are coming up. For example, attack surface management. So people not only should do a VAPT, which is like a normal activity, or the risk management, or any other application security, whatever they do on a regular basis or a periodic basis, I think they should think about increasing or maybe make it as continuous instead of doing at a stipulated periodicity. So attack surface management is another thing which will help you understand or help the organization understand what are all the problems that are visible to the threat actors. So closing those are very, very important. So there are many solutions available. Look at your score, understand how your peers are scoring, use this use case, go to the management or board, and then get your approvals done, because you have the first hand data. It's not like, okay, I want to go for this solution. No, that is not the answer. XYZ companies who are traveling along with us, they had already gone for this solution. That's why their scores are high. Then yes, you get an S. So you can try to get such kind of uh, visibility also, and then go to the management and understand how artificial intelligence and machine learning are going to help you with respect to analyze your log, or maybe analyze your, there are multiple advanced sims with AI capabilities are coming up, started coming up. Still they are actually working on more on logics, but I hope they also will mature very soon. And so find out what are all the other type of new certifications that are coming up. So, like I mentioned, when you say learn not only through magazines and then videos, also find out anything that is newly coming up with respect to certification, because keeping up to date is very, very important. Upskilling is very, very important. Not only for us, certain people do only for them. Actually, we should start doing that for all the team members. It's like you are powerful, but all the wheels that you have are actually punctured or no air. Then it is going to be a stressful time for you to actually pull the entire engine. So it's very, very important that we have properly inflated tires along with this, so that we can run, fly along with them together. So it's very, very important that we have all these things together, and then keep our basics from prevention until backup, including the testing of entire thing properly. So what we generally miss is the testing. So if you look at have I what is the case in case of power failure? We have tested. Yes. What is the case when there is a hard disk failure with RAID and other things? Yes. So whereas what is the problem if it is a ransomware attack? What is the problem if there is a complete both the firewall failures? So such kind of tests generally the companies don't do because of the business criticality. I would advise them to do at a right juncture where the load is less or maybe the holidays. Try to find out how much time it takes to come back to the normalcy. So all these information are definitely required so that an organization can be risk based, solution based, also ready to face any test because they had already passed all those tests and they have the data.
Absolutely. Very, very important point because testing is very important. That gives you an opportunity to test your RTO and your RPO because while you may meet, what we should never lose sight is, are we resilient? Have we identified the key processes? Have we tested those controls to ensure that one process, which is required to keep your business running, is always running? So, as a conversation comes to a close, I'd like to extend my gratitude to Gokulavan for his invaluable thoughts and insights. Today, we've delved into the complexities of cyber resilience and its integration into risk-based decision making for CISOs and the organizations alike. It's evident that in the ever-evolving landscape of cybersecurity, fostering a culture of resilience is paramount to safeguarding against emerging threats. You also mentioned about awareness training, learning new skills, upskilling, and so on and so forth. Let us take the lessons learned from today's dialogue and continue to collaborate, innovate, and adopt our strategies to ensure resilience and security of our digital infrastructure. Let's remain steadfast in our commitment to a safe cyber future. Gokulavan, thank you so much for taking time. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.